respite from having it, but also it means I don't end up looking like a kind of adolescent Hitler for a week. But the day I've chosen to shave back to the toothbrush moustache for the second time, by coincidence, was the day after the results were announced at the last European elections, in which you might recall the British National Party won 2 seats. So I decided I'm going to go out on the streets of London today with this moustache, because if I do, there's really only one way that's going to be interpreted. I don't think anyone's going to go, whoop, that's a cheeky comedian he's trying to reclaim the toothbrush moustache for comedy. What a card. I think they were going to think I was a fascist celebrating this awful result, and I wasn't in celebratory mood. I was furious about what... I was embarrassed, firstly, that our country was sending fascists to represent us in Europe. It was kind of worse that it was a foreign parliament. It would have been bad enough if it had been our own, but it's like they were foreign exchange students or something. They were sending them out back to Europe. But I was furious with you, the British public, because this was entirely your fault. We'd seen this coming. There were lots of ways to stop it, but you didn't do a thing. Apparently, there are no racists in the audience tonight. But I bet at least half of you didn't go and vote in the European elections. If you didn't vote in the European elections, this is your fault. You may not be a racist, but you're a facilitator of racism, which is kind of worse, in my opinion, than being a racist. You've embarrassed our country. You should be fucking ashamed of you. I hate you. You're a cunt. There aren't really any jokes in the second half of the show, I should point out. Because the turnout was incredibly low for the European elections. It was less than 40%, because you're all furious, weren't you, with the MPs because of the expenses scandal. Because, of course, none of you have ever fiddled your expenses at work, so I can understand why you'd take the moral high ground on that subject. So the turnout was less than 40%. The BNP actually got the same number of votes as they got at the previous European elections, but this time, because the turnout was so low, that was enough for them to get 2 seats. You know, if just 5,000 people out of the 20 million who didn't vote had gone and voted, they wouldn't have got those seats. So if you're one of the people who didn't vote, this is your fault. You're culpable wherever you live, and you should be ashamed of yourself. You've embarrassed our country. And you might go, well, surely the people who actually voted for the BNP are a little bit more culpable than I am. No, they're not. You are more culpable than they are, in my opinion, because you're intelligent. You've come to my show. You've bought my DVD. Thanks for that. But you know, 1 million people voted for the BNP, which sounds like quite a lot. Except there are 60 million people in this country. You know, one in 60 people vote for the BNP. 1 in 60 people in this country are fucking idiots. There's 2 people in this room who are cockholes. I'm telling you that right now. But luckily, 59 out of 60 people are kind of all right, and that's how democracy works. As long as you do your democratic duty, we don't have to listen to the opinions of those idiots on either extreme. But you didn't do your duty. You stayed home. All it takes for fascism to prosper is for good men to do nothing, and that is exactly what happened. You might think, it doesn't really matter, does it? It's only the European Parliament, that's not important, European elections, and the BNP aren't ever actually going to get anywhere. This is just a blip. They're just a joke party. It's quite funny they won these seats, and this is a bit like when Boris Johnson became Mayor of London for having funny hair. Well, you know, maybe they won't get anywhere. Maybe they are a joke party, perhaps. But, you know, now the BNP actually get paid money from Europe because they have these 2 seats, and if they use that money wisely, which they may well not, they are idiots, but if they do, they can only build on this success. It will be your laziness, your apathy that has allowed them this. They get a platform on TV. They're on Question Time now because they have these seats. That's your fault. If you didn't vote, you've allowed this to happen, and that's the same thing happened with the Nazis in Germany. They grew from this tiny joke party, and look what happened there, you know. And around this time, I heard some guys from the Spanish Civil War on Radio 2, 95-year-old fellas. I don't know if you know what happened in Spain in the 1930s, but essentially fascists overthrew a democratic election. People went from all over Europe. They weren't Spanish. They just hated fascism enough to go and fight in a war, be killed and injured to stop it. Now what you're being asked to do to fight fascism is go down to your local primary school and put an X on a piece of paper, and you can't be bothered to do that. I mean, it is a lot to ask. Go and see. It's a lot. I can understand why you've got to go, well, I've got to do 1 stroke of the pen like this and that. That's not even enough. I've got to then come back and do I've got writer's cramp from the first. I don't know if I can be bothered. It's a lot. Diagnosis murders on TV at the moment. I've only seen this episode 4 times. I can't quite remember which member of the Van Dyke family is the murderer in this one. It's just too much bother. Someone said to me, it's my political right not to vote. I was making a political protest by not voting. Don't even fool yourself into thinking that. You're not making a political protest by not voting. You're a lazy twat, OK? It's not. Don't even start to kid yourself. It's not like Gordon Brown, or whoever is the Prime Minister now in the future, is going to... It's not like Gordon Brown's going to look at that and go, well, oh my God, have you seen this? Ian Norman, he didn't even go out and vote today. He must be furious with me. I'm going to have to buck up my ideas. That is a warning shot across the bow. If anything, Gordon Brown's going to go, oh, well, Ian Norman's a lazy cunt like the rest of them. Looks like it doesn't matter what we do. Have as many duck moats as you want, mate. No one gives a fuck. It's brilliant. Go on, get out there. You've got to vote. That's all you have to do once or twice a year. It's not much. Someone else said to me, I spoilt my ballot paper. They were quite proud. I hate all politicians. They're all as bad as each other. I want none of the above, so I spoilt my ballot. Really? There are about 20 names on that piece of paper. Was there no one on there you'd have preferred to a Nazi? So, well, you can spoil your ballot paper if you want. They do get counted up at least, but they don't mean anything because it includes all the ones that have been spoiled for whatever reason. Maybe someone's a bit doolally, he's put 3 crosses on the piece of paper because they think they're kisses for the handsomest candidate. If you really want none of the above, you know, if there's no one on there you prefer to a Nazi, not the Green Party just once as a kind of protest. Well, you know, let's try and bring it in through the political process, okay? Let's ratify this in Parliament. Let's have a none of the above option, okay? Don't do this until it's part of the process, but let's bring this in. If there's no one on there you prefer to a Nazi, don't forget that bit. And you want none of the above. What you have to do in future, once this is made law, what you have to do is draw a gigantic cock all over your ballot paper. The angrier you are, the more realistic it should be. The more turgid, the more hairs on the testicle, the more spunk coming out the end. Those get counted out, read out a hustings, so it'll be like Labour, 16,347, Conservative, 17,222, Cox, 78,984. If any candidate gets less votes than there are Cox, they're never allowed to stand for any elected position ever again. That would be a good system. We'd weed out a few of them until that moment comes in, till they've got that through. I'll do my best for you. You just have to vote, that's all you have to do. Because we don't want the British National Party representing us in any parliament, in any way. They're using the same tricks as Adolf Hitler. This is the BNP leaflet. You might not all be able to see that, but wherever you are in the room, I'm sure you will agree that is a beautifully designed piece of work. I'm thinking of having my house decorated in those colours after this tour is over. That is a beautiful piece of work. But they're using the same tricks as Hitler. Okay, so what Hitler did, he would take symbols and change their meaning for his own ends. He took the swastika, he changed it from peace to war. On the top of this leaflet, right at the top there, you might not all be able to see it, there is a picture of a Spitfire, okay? The BNP are trying to say they're the same, they represent the people who fought for us in the Battle of Britain. Now, as far as I remember, the people who fought for us in the Battle of Britain were fighting against the Nazis, weren't they? But I may have got that wrong. I've only got a 2-1 in modern history from Oxford University, so what do I know? Really, to be honest, I didn't really work that hard. I ate crisps most of the time, so if I've got that wrong, I do apologise. But I do know for a fact the BNP have accidentally selected there a picture of a Polish Spitfire, okay? These people can't even be racist properly. If you are a racist, please vote for a more efficient racist party than the BNP. They're letting you down with their shoddy racism, please. Let's have a look. Well, also, Nick Griffin, all the way through the campaign, he wore a poppy, even though it was the spring. Again, trying to say he's allying himself with the war dead. The British Legion asked him to stop. They didn't want political affiliation of any kind. He just ignored them, carried on. In the end, the British Legion ended up writing an open letter to all the national newspapers telling Nick Griffin to stop wearing that poppy. It was fantastic to see our old boys fighting the Nazis one last time. So let's have a look at this in closer detail. It says on here, because it's not racist to oppose mass immigration and political correctness, it's common sense. Now that sent a little chill through my spine, because it's common sense is one of the catchphrases of Al Murray, the pub landlord, who I used to write for, being appropriated unironically by the very people we were taking the piss out of. That's quite shocking for me. Let's break this down into more easy to digest chunks, because it's quite a complicated thesis. It says, because it's not racist to oppose mass immigration. No, they're right, it isn't. It is not racist. It's not racist to oppose mass immigration. They're bang on, that is absolutely correct. But you know what? Nobody is proposing mass immigration. I think if you look at the other parties' manifestos, none of them are saying, what we're going to do, just let everyone in. It'll be brilliant. No checks, the more the merrier. Anyone wants to come in, they can. It'll be like a big party. It'll be brilliant. Think of all the different kinds of food. It's actually quite hard to become an immigrant into this country, and every party is trying to close that loophole down a little bit. So the BNP are using mass immigration in the same way there as Hitler used the Jews, as this terrifying force, this outside force, these bogeymen that might be responsible for terrible crimes to scare you. You know, they're using them as a scapegoat for you to blame all your problems on, rather than looking a bit closer to home to see who might be responsible for your problems. It is you. So it might as well say there, because it's not racist to oppose mass immigration, but we are still racist, because it is racist to oppose political correctness. Now, political correctness has turned into this jokey term, this stick to beat the liberal left with. Oh, it's political correctness gone mad. What next? It's just a stupid... You know what? Political correctness is actually a good thing. All political correctness is about treating everyone with respect, treating everyone the same regardless of the colour of their skin, their sex or their sexuality, which earlier on we all thought was a good idea. So if you're anti-political correctness, you're racist and sexist and homophobic. You're either in the BNP or maybe a member of the Catholic Church. Though the terrifying thing about them is their leader actually has some power to spread his evil ideas around the world. The number of Africans he's killed with AIDS, Nick Griffin must be hopping mad with jealousy. Yeah, you're right. I mean, he did at least cover up for those priests, so I shouldn't knock him. So, what? He fucking did? What's your problem, mate? Maybe this is for another show. But I witnessed this political correctness being used as this pejorative term early last year. I met Carol Thatcher early 2009. It was the week after she'd been sacked from The One Show. I'm sure you remember this story. Carol Thatcher, ex-Prime Minister's daughter, was a reporter on The One Show. 1 week after the show, they're having a drink in the green room. There was a TV on. There was a black French tennis player on TV. It's unclear exactly what Carol Thatcher said, but it was something along the lines of, ooh, there's a gollywog. Or, he's got hair like a gollywog. Or maybe, look at the gollywog frog. For me, that last one's a bit too clever for Carol Thatcher to have come up with independently. I'm not sure she's got the mental capacity to come up with 2 racial epithets that actually rhyme as well. But you know, if you put enough monkeys with enough typewriters, one of them will look like Carol Thatcher. So Someone complained about this for some reason. She got sacked from the one show. The next week, I was on a show called The Right Stuff with fellow panellists. I was on there to discuss my last tour, The Headmaster's Son, which you may remember. It was all about how awful it was for me growing up in a school where my dad was the headmaster. The first thing she said in that particular discussion, Carol Thatcher, was, well, when I was at school, my mum was the Secretary of State for Education. I think that's a bit worse than you, isn't it? To be honest, I think she got me there. I'd been zinged by Thatcher. That was 1-0 to Thatch. At this point, I didn't hate Carol Thatcher. I don't think she's an evil person. She was very polite to me in the green room before the show. Possibly she'd learned a lesson, I don't know. But I don't think she's evil. She's a bit out of touch with the modern world, maybe a bit privileged and posh. I don't know exactly. A bit old, maybe, to understand what we're meant to do. But I don't think she's evil. What I don't understand, I don't get why this woman is famous. I mean, how is she a broadcaster? She can barely actually speak. She's just famous for having come out of the cunt of someone famous. I mean, is that enough for you, Cardiff? Is that enough for you at home, your celebrities? She's the creature from Thatcher's Snatch. That's all. That's all she is. Now, Peaches Geldof, I can appreciate that. She's come out of the cock of someone famous into the cunt of someone famous. That is a skill for me. That is a cause to celebrity. That's someone I want to look up to. But just one, that isn't enough for me. Just one. It's not. I maybe have higher standards than the rest of the country. I don't know. But anyway, Carol Thatcher was blaming everyone but herself for what had happened. She was saying it was political correctness gone mad. What happened is she'd lost her freedom of speech. She said it was like being back in East Germany. She blamed the people who'd snitched on her. She said they were to blame. I said, look, this isn't the question of freedom of speech, is it? And you know what? Freedom of speech doesn't just mean you can say anything you want and no one can say anything in return. It means the opposite of that. It means we have the right to tell you we think you're wrong. And, I don't think the one show should have sacked her. I told her, I think there's this knee-jerk reaction now. Someone does something wrong, that's it, they're banished for life. What example is that to our kids? If you do something wrong, we all do that from time to time. You should apologise sincerely, which, by the way, Carol Thatcher never did. She never even apologised insincerely. She refused to see this as a fault. Wouldn't it have been better if the next week, rather than sacking her, the one show had sent her down to do a report in Brixton or Toxteth to talk to some actual black people, call them gollywogs to their faces, see what kind of response she got. I think that might have made interesting TV, would have promoted some debate. Someone might have got smacked in their stupid lisping face. So she said it was political correctness gone mad that she couldn't say gollywog in a public place. I said, look, that's not political correctness gone mad, is it? That's political correctness gone correct, I think, in this instance. Political correctness isn't this bad thing. It's just about respecting everyone, treating everyone the same. It's like I wouldn't have said to her, I think Alzheimer's disease is hilarious, because that would have been disrespectful. I wouldn't have said to her, when your mum dies, I'm going to wank on her grave. I'm going to do that, but there's no need to tell her. It's rude to say it, isn't it, to her face? So, and I got quite angry. It looked like she was going to get away with all this. And I said, look, I just think there are certain words we shouldn't be using anymore in modern-day Britain. I think that's one of those words. You should be apologising to everyone what you've done. You should be ashamed of yourself. You've done an awful, awful thing. And I think Carol Thatcher was a bit flabbergasted. I don't think anyone had actually spoken to her face like this. She was speechless for about 3 seconds, which was quite an achievement. And I actually got a round of applause from the mental people who go and watch The Right Stuff live. And you're probably thinking, yeah, Richard Herring, you must feel pretty good for having stood up to Carol Thatcher. You must feel like a kind of modern-day folk hero, like Robin Hood, for daring to say exactly what you thought to the face of a middle-aged woman. No thought for your own safety. How can you criticise Carol Thatcher for saying the word gollywog when earlier in this show you said the word packy, which is surely a much more offensive word than gollywog, which is just childish and pathetic. But packy is still used and still has great resonance today, still offends a lot of people out there in the street today. So if there's certain words we can't say in the modern world, surely packy's one of those words. So how can you criticise Carol Thatcher for saying gollywog when you said packy? And I'd say to you, well, you just said the word packy as well, didn't you? Just then when you said I said the word packy, you said packy, so it seems to me you're at least as bad as I am. I don't see you're in a position to criticise me when you're going around saying packy as well. You might go, that's not really fair because I was quoting you. I had to say the word packy, or people wouldn't know which word I was talking about. If I just said, you said the word people go, what do you mean? That isn't a word. I said, well, I meant packy. I didn't want to say packy, so I said but now I'm about to say packy 2 more times. I wish I'd just said packy straight away because it was confusing. But in any case, I was quoting you, so I don't think I am as culpable as you are. And I say, yeah, I think you're right. I think you really are onto something there. And in the bit I did, I was just quoting some racist. It wasn't actually me saying, I was using it in quotes. And the word packy itself isn't offensive, it's just a word, it's just a collection of letters that can't harm you. You're allowed to use it in the sentence saying the word packy is wrong. That's okay. So we can use the word packy, and that's the intent behind it, it's the way you use it. I think it's only offensive if you use it against another human being. A stone is not a weapon until you pick it up and throw it at someone, and that's the difference. Carol Thatcher used her word about someone else. I think that's the difference. I think that's why I am better than Carol Thatcher. But in any case, if you really hate the word packy as much as you claim, just by complaining about me saying the word packy has been said 19 more times in this show than it would have been if you'd just kept your mouth shut. So maybe you should think about that next time, just before, if you care so much about that word being said. You might go, well, that's all very well for you to say, but the thing is, I am a fictional character that you have created. I think everyone understood the context of packy the first time you used it. I don't think anyone was offended by it. This seems to me to be you standing on stage, having an unnecessary argument with yourself, in which you just repeatedly say the word packy over and over again for no good reason. Like you get off on saying the word packy in front of a liberal audience on being filmed for a DVD. Like you're sexually aroused by saying the word packy whilst being filmed. I think that's a bit of a low blow to say I'm sexually aroused by. I think I'm making a point maybe about the way a word loses or gains meaning through repetition, but to say I'm getting some kind of sexual kick out of that is a childish remark. It's you saying it, mate. I don't exist. You're the one who's come up with the idea of that being a sexually arousing thing, which to me is an odd detail to just pluck out of the air. You know what? Why would you even come up with the idea of that being sexually arousing unless you were sexually aroused by it? That's the only point. In any case, it doesn't matter. You know, you'll criticise Carol Thatcher. She said a bad thing in a room full of people. Someone went away and complained. You said some awful things tonight in a room full of people. There's people at home. Someone could go away, complain. You said awful things about Madeleine McCann, Michael Jackson, Mrs. Thatcher, Carol Thatcher herself. Awful personal remarks that I don't think you can really defend. So how come it's all right for you to say these awful things and it's not all right for Carol Thatcher to do it? What is the difference? Well, no. Well, yeah, well, that. No, that's quite a good point. I hadn't thought of it like that before. So, well, you had thought of it like that before because A, I am you. You've just asked yourself the question, and B, I've asked you that exact same question in the last 122 performances of this show. Every single time you go through this rigmarole, going, like it's a pantomime. Like you think. Like you're a brilliant actor or something. You're not, mate. It's pathetic what you're doing. Like you think you're going to win some award, the Cardiff Award for the best actor to come in and pretend he hasn't thought of something that logically he must have thought of. There's no such award, mate. And if you're not going to, if there is, Michael McIntyre will win it as usual. So what you're doing is pathetic. So I respect the people of Cardiff. I love Cardiff. I come here a lot. I love people who buy my DVDs too much. Tonight, I want a proper answer to that question. Finally, I don't want you getting away with this. I've thought of it rubbish. Tonight, I want a proper answer. Why is it all right for you to say these things and it's not all right for Carol Thatcher to do it? What is the difference? Stop smirking. I can see you smirking. This is serious. I can feel you smirking. I've got the same mouth as you. Give me a proper answer to the question. I don't know. I don't thought of it like that. I just think when I do it, it's quite funny. Is that it? That's the best. It's funny when you do it. So does that make it all right? Is that? Well, no, it's just I don't know. I'm having a go. I'm just trying to do a comedy show. I have to better think about what I was saying as well. It's different because it just is different. That's the difference. That's the main difference is that it just is different when I do it. That is the main difference. The difference is that it's different. That is the difference in this. That's pathetic. It's different because it's different. That's just can't get. I just think it's all right. Leave me alone. I just think it's all right when I do it because I'm a comedian. That's because I'm a comedian. I knew that. That's the answer. I knew that all along. I was just messing around a minute ago. It's because I'm a comedian. That's the difference. It's my job to say the unsayable. That's why I do it. To prick pomposity with my sword of satire. That's what your sword of satire. That's what you. Is that what you're going to put that in your sheath of parody or something? Is that? I'm going to go. It's rude. I've got to prick pomposity where it's my. Unlike Carol Thatcher, I know what it is. Unlike Carol Thatcher, I'm being postmodern and ironic. Unlike Carol Thatcher, I am aware that the awful things that I am saying are totally unacceptable. Does that make you better than Carol Thatcher? Or much, much worse? Don't think having this moustache has turned me mental, though. So, in a way it was good this whole Carol Thatcher thing happened because it got us talking about the subject. And I think the problem with modern-day Britain is we're scared to discuss these issues about racism. We're scared to offend each other. We're scared we'll say the wrong thing. But, we should talk about it. We live in a multicultural society. Let's discuss it. We'll come to a consensus. I think the consensus with this one probably saying gollywog was a bad thing to do. But let's talk about it and let the racists speak. Some people want to shut them up. We have freedom of speech in this country, regardless of what Carol Thatcher says, and that means everyone's allowed to say what they want. And you know what? Let the racists speak, because their arguments fall down the minute they come out of their mouths. If you span them, it makes them seem they have something sensible to say. They don't. All the evidence shows that racism is a ridiculous point of view. All the scientific, historical, geological, archaeological, genetic evidence just shows racism is pathetic. So let these people speak, because they'll hang themselves if you give them enough rope. I saw a guy from the BNP addressing a crowd. This was genuinely his argument. He said, we've been British in this country for 16,000 years. We don't want immigrants coming over here diluting our Britishness. We've been British for 16,000 years. Now, let's just ignore the massive historical inaccuracy in that statement. Let's assume we have been British for 16,000 years. Nobody has come into the country in that time. There have been no Romans, no Vikings, no Normans. We don't have a German royal family. Okay, so what were the people who were British 16,000 years ago? What were they 16,001 years ago? Where were they living then? Where did they evolve from British monkeys? I think they were... They were probably living somewhere else, I guess, before they came. They were living on the continent. They'd come up from Africa through the... They were French, basically. The first Britons emigrated from France. The first Britons were immigrants. We're a nation of immigrants. You know, people have been coming in all the time, constantly since then. Every wave of immigrants has improved the place, no end, if we're really honest about it. If you're going to use the historical record, why go back 16,000 years ago? Why not go back 70,000 years ago to those 100 individuals who left Africa and in doing so inadvertently created the rest of the human race? Why not go back 200,000 years ago to the first human beings, to East Africa, to whom all of us are related, who migrated around the world, filled every corner of this earth like no other creature on the planet? You know, if Nick Griffin and the BNP really hate immigrants as much as they say, I think they should fuck off back to Africa, where they came from. Because we are a nation of immigrants, and the remarkable thing about our country is that every ethnicity, all these different people, we've come back together into this one tiny island, and we're living side by side. And I'm not saying it's perfect, because of course we don't always get on, but given the differences, these false differences that we've created between each other, I think we get on pretty well. Because you know what? Being British is actually about acceptance. It's about allowing people to be whoever they are, about welcoming people, and it's about, you've got freedom of belief, you can think what you want as long as you let everyone else think what you want. You've got freedom of speech. This is a brilliant country, and I think we knock it. This is a country where I can walk down the street with a Hitler moustache, and nobody says a thing. This is a country where I can make a joke about masturbating onto the grave of a not yet dead ex-Prime Minister, as we speak, and I don't get sent to prison. This is a brilliant country, and we are a nation of immigrants. I'll prove it to you now. I saw this brilliant performance poet. She's called Francesca Beard. Check her out if you get a chance. This is her bit. I want you to raise your hand if you were born in the United Kingdom. England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland. Put your hand up if that's you. So look, that's most people in the room. Keep the hands up, that's brilliant. If you could just angle those arms at a kind of 45-degree angle towards me now. No, we've got one. I've got a few times. That's not bad. I just don't know how Hitler did this the first time. Everyone went along. Ignore that. Put your hand up if you're born in the United Kingdom. Keep that hand up. Keep your hand up if both your parents are also born in the United Kingdom. We lost one or two straight away. Keep your hand up if all four grandparents are also born in the United Kingdom. Again, we've got to know for sure if you're proud of being a British. Remember, Ireland isn't a part of the United Kingdom, so do put your hand. We always lose a couple there. I think they're a bit thick, the Irish. It passes down. Keep your hand up if all 8 great-grandparents are also born in the United Kingdom, for sure. So look, we're down, even in Wales, one of the most inbred places in the world, where they built a dike around here to keep everyone else out. I happen to know, mate, your grandma was a right slag step with a lot of sailors, so you can keep your hand down. You want to take a look in the mirror, mate, you look like Buddha or something, you say, There's about 20% of this audience could go back 3 generations of pure Britishness. That's pathetic. You know, there's no such thing as being British. We all come from other places. I think the rest of us should get together and kick the shit out of those minority inbred British fuckers. They're the ones bringing the average down. I'd really like to see Nick Griffin on that TV show, Who Do You Think You Are? I think that would be a great hour. It might be quite a short show. I think they might just hand him a piece of paper saying, you're a gigantic, one-eyed, melty-faced cunt. Is it all right to knock Nick Griffin's physical appearance because of his political views? No, it isn't. You're wrong. That was a little trap I set for you in the show. If you laughed at that, you're as bad as Nick Griffin. You're the same as him. I want you to go home and think about what you've done. So I decided I wasn't going to not have this moustache because the BNP had won these seats any more than I wasn't going to have it because Hitler had it. It made me more determined. If anything, I left it for a couple of days out of respect, but 2 days later I shaved back down to the toothbrush moustache. You know, the second time I had it, I didn't feel as ridiculous. I didn't feel as stupid. Maybe there was a kind of extra point now growing in the back of my mind. But really, honestly, I realised the worst thing that was happening to me with this moustache was people were laughing at me. I went to Starbucks early one morning. Everyone was a bit bleary-eyed. The girl was serving someone else. She called a mate in from the kitchen. He hadn't seen me come in. He got to the counter, looked up, saw me for the first time, and just laughed openly in my face. And then, realising that wasn't proper professional etiquette, then said, oh, I'm sorry, I just saw a thing. Probably can't see it. But I suddenly thought, why was I getting upset that people were laughing at me? Wasn't that why I'd grown this moustache in the first place? To reclaim it for comedy, and I thought people were going to punch me. Surely this was laughter was better than being physically assaulted, you know, and it's brilliant. That's another brilliant thing about this country. We do laugh in the face of ridiculousness, we laugh in the face of pomposity and pretension, and we laugh in the face of fascism, and I hope we always will do, because if you laugh at fascism, you go a long way to destroying it. It needs you to take it seriously, and it is preposterous, you know. I think if Hitler had come to this country in the 1920s with this moustache and addressed a room full of working people, believe me, I've been out on the streets, there'd have been a bloke in the back going, hey, Charlie, when are you going to eat your shoes, you fucking cunt? Everyone would have laughed, and that would have been the end of it. He'd never have spoken again. But in Germany, they go, I noticed this speaker has the exact same moustache as the comedic film actor Charlie Chaplin. But I see nothing intrinsically amusing about that. Bit racist against the Germans, that one, wasn't it? It's all right. They're not a race, so it's fine. They wanted to be, but they're not. So, They didn't laugh at Hitler. They didn't take him seriously. It's a different thing. They underestimated him and he used that to wheedle his way into power. And I kind of wonder whether he grew this moustache on purpose so they wouldn't take him seriously. They'd see him as this comedic, idiotic figure because he was very shrewd and very intelligent. And he grew from very small beginnings and became actually into power when everyone thought he was ridiculous and would never get anywhere. It's a warning to you all. But, you know, if you laugh at fascism, you can destroy it. And that's something that Charlie Chaplin realised. I wasn't a massive fan of Chaplin before I wrote this show. I thought he was this sentimental slapstick style. That's not my bag, really. But I watched some of his stuff as research. And in 1938, Chaplin started work on a film called The Great Dictator, which I'm sure many of you are aware of, in which he used the fact he had the same moustache as Hitler to satirise the Nazis. Even though this wasn't his usual thing, he decided to do a political film. I think partly he was angry with Hitler because he felt he'd stolen his moustache. Genuinely, he called him a second-rate impersonator. I think also, as a comedian, I think perhaps he recognised a little bit of himself in the fascist dictator. He saw that similarity, he wanted to talk about that. But mainly, he saw what was going on in Germany with the Jews. He only knew the half of it, to be honest, but he thought it was wrong that human beings were treating other human beings as second-class citizens, and he wanted to make this political film, even though that wasn't his usual thing. Everyone told him he was crazy. They were trying to appease the Nazis in America at the time. They said the studios would never work with them again. He pressed ahead. He decided to make this film on his own, and you should watch it. It's amazing. Right? It's slightly dated. It's still very funny in most places. There's kind of this beautiful, poetic comedy, and it ends with this astonishing set piece in which Charlie Chaplin, as himself, addresses the camera. Now, remember, the tramp has never even spoken on film before The Great Dictator. Now, suddenly, he does this 5-minute speech, a monologue, a serious speech, no jokes in it, in which is passionately, he says why we must support democracy, why we have to fight fascism, why all human beings are the same. He never undercuts it with any jokes. And to see a comedian being serious for that length of time, being that passionate, that kind of audacious, is incredibly powerful. It's kind of unbelievable. It's maybe when the politicians become so ridiculous, the comedians have to become serious. But it really works. And that film came out in the early 1940s and was one of the things that either galvanised the Americans and made them want to join in with the Second World War. So it's satire that actually made an historical difference. And in that film, The Great Dictator, there is a character called Herring. I found that quite surprising. I've never seen a character called Herring in any film I've ever watched. You know, every single day since I've had this idea, somebody has emailed me and said, have you seen that website, Cats That Look Like Hitler? Yes. Yes, I've seen it. It's very funny. But nobody has emailed me and said, you know in the film The Great Dictator, I suppose you're doing a modern-day version of that, there's a character with your name. Don't you think that's fucking weird? It was like Chaplin was reaching through time, passing on the baton, saying, that's right, use the moustache to satirise fascism, that is what it's for. I know he wasn't really doing that, I'm not mental. So, but I realise, with this moustache, life did become funny even when quite bad things happened. I live in Shepherd's Bush in West London, I've said, I was walking down the street one afternoon, it was lunchtime, there were hundreds of people around, I felt perfectly safe. I was on my iPhone, okay? I love my iPhone. I prefer it to any human being by miles. It is brilliant. So I was just on Twitter, suddenly out of nowhere, this guy cycles up on the pavement behind me, reaches over, deftly grabs my iPhone, and he's gone. It was so fast, for a second I didn't even know what had happened. I was looking down going, well, that's not my iPhone, is it? That's where my iPhone usually is, but what's this strange, vaguely familiar thing that has replaced it? What interface is it? I can't even get Facebook on it. It's really... Then I saw him cycling away. I was like, no, not my iPhone, no, anything but my iPhone. I'd rather he'd ripped out my heart than taken my iPhone. I'd rather he'd waited until I'd had a baby, then come round to my house and stamped on his head. I would. Because you can just get a mechanical heart these days. You can fuck someone else, make a new baby. You can't get a new iPhone, can you? Where's I going to get a new iPhone from? It had all my solitaire statistics on it. You can't back those up. That's 9 whole days of my life just gone. I might as well have wasted them doing nothing. I wasn't going to let it go. I started chasing after him. It was, I could only see him from behind. It was a black guy, as it happened. He was wearing a black beanie hat. That's all I could see. I was running after him going, no, stop it! Stop it, fucker! Knock that fire off his bike! For some reason the people at Shepherd's Bush didn't jump to my defence on this one. I don't know what they saw. So I wasn't even going. He got away. Of course he did. He was a fit man on a bicycle, and I was a fat old man. And I wasn't even going to go to the police. I didn't think it was worth it. I thought they'd just laugh at me. It's too trivial an incident. But as it happened, there was a police van about 30 yards up the road. They hadn't seen the incident. Someone told them about it. They called me over. To give you some local colour, they were dealing with a bleeding dog. That's life in the bush. You must come visit. It's a beautiful suburb. So they called me out. I just thought they'd tell me to fuck off. Okay, well, why weren't you holding on to your iPhone, you idiot? It's worth loads of money. Of course someone's going to nick it. I've never seen anything like it. They leapt to it. They left this dog bleeding on their car seats. They're like, give us a description. I said, look, it was a black guy in a black beanie hat on a bicycle. That's all I saw. They were on the walkie-talkie to all the other police in the area going, look out for a black guy in a black beanie hat on a bicycle. They called detectives to come in another car and drive me around Shepherd's Bush to look for this guy. I couldn't believe the level of service I was getting. It was incredible. Then I suddenly remembered about the moustache. I thought, is that the reason the police are being so helpful? Have they recognised a kindred spirit here? Is the bloke with the pad about to turn it around? He hasn't been taking notes. He's just drawn a gigantic swastika. Don't worry, sir, we'll get him for you. Or is it just if you've got a uniform, you just implicitly have to obey this moustache? It's got this hypnotic pattern. I felt really bad for judging the police who were helping me, and I felt dog blood everywhere, thanks to me. So anyway, these detectives suddenly arrived and drove me around. I said, look, I'm never going to recognise him. It was a black guy in a black beanie hat. It could be one of 1,000 people. Then I realised I was a man with a Hitler moustache, basically saying all black people look exactly the same. I said, no, I didn't see him, I only saw him from behind. I'm not a fascist, I'm a comedian, which for some reason they found funny. But we drove around about 25 minutes. Of course we didn't see him. I would never have known if we had, but I'd given up on it. But suddenly a call came through on the police radio saying they'd apprehended a suspect elsewhere, and it was incredible. They turned on the flashing blue lights on the police car and started weaving at high speed through the traffic round Shepherd's Bush Green. I was in the back of the police car, lights flashing, zooming along. It was brilliant. This little kid inside me going, this is the best day of my life. It was worth losing my iPhone to experience this. Then I suddenly thought, what is anyone looking at this imagining is going on here? Well, they've got him at last then, eh? That's good. Yeah, it's good. It's good. I never liked him. I thought he got away with it. He was bad. I hope he goes to jail. So we drove about 2 miles away from the scene of crime where they'd apprehended this guy. I was meant to identify him through the window as the car drove past. Remember, we were looking for a black guy in a black beanie hat on a bicycle. Those were the 3 clues the police were working with. The guy that apprehended was a black guy in a blue beanie hat. So close, though, eh? I mean, 20 years ago, that'd have been enough on its own, wouldn't it? Yeah. I mean, he didn't have a bicycle either, but one of the 3 clues had come good. The police had managed to locate a black man in West London. I think we should be applauding them for that, not mocking them. He had a hat. That's suspicious. I laugh at it now. At the time, I was furious. I felt humiliated. I felt emasculated. Even this guy got one up on me. I'd lost something very precious to me. I was immediately coming up with these crazy plans of revenge. I thought, the next phone I get, I'm going to plant a remote-controlled bomb in the middle of it. Anyone steals it, blow them to pieces. I thought, what I'll do is I will craft an exact replica of an iPhone out of shit. And then I'll walk around with that. Someone will come in. Oh, no. Whoa. But you have to think about it, it's going to be quite a Pyrrhic victory, even if that comes off, isn't it? The 3 months of walking around with a turd pressed to my ear. But I was shaken up. I'd never been a victim of crime in London before, and this had unsettled me. That night, I was scared. Honestly, I was walking back from the tube station late that night. There was hardly anyone around. There was a black guy walking towards me. Without thinking about it, I just stepped to one side, gave him a bit more room than I usually. I never would have done anything like that before. I thought, this is terrible. Have I become a racist? Has having my iPhone stolen by a black man made me racist against black people? This is pathetic. Though maybe Hitler had his iPhone stolen by a Jewish man, eh? Because that would make sense, because I was fucking furious about it. It would almost justify the Holocaust. Oh, I said almost. You're not even listening now. I went a bit further. There was another black guy coming towards me again. Without thinking, I stepped aside. I thought, this is the worst day of my life. I've become everything I despise. I went a bit further. There was a white guy cycling towards me on the pavement. You know what? I was scared of him as well. I cowered away in fear. I thought, thank God. I'm not a racist. This incident has made me hate all of humanity. Including all black people, but all white people as well. As long as it's equal, that's fine. I can sleep soundly in my bed tonight. And funnily enough, the very next day, I was going for an interview in a radio station in town about this show. After the show, I was going to go to do an early preview out of town, so I had all my stuff for the show in my bag. And because it was a Central London radio station, they had a guy at the bottom of the stairs checking through everyone's bags for bombs. And as it happened, it was a black guy. And I immediately felt uncomfortable. I said I hadn't got over that aspect of having this moustache. He was going to judge me. He's going to think something about me that wasn't true, or maybe feel intimidated or upset by me having this moustache. And I didn't want to have to try and explain myself to everyone I walked past. So I felt uncomfortable about this. Then I suddenly realised this bloke was about to search through my bag. And because I was on my way to do this show, in the bag he was about to look through was this. So not only did I have a Hitler moustache, I was carrying around a 2-month out-of-date leaflet for the British National Party. I'm a man who so loved the BNP, I carry around their redundant literature. Look how well thumbed that is. I must have read through that 1,000 times, drinking in every word of wisdom, learning it off by heart. I wanted the earth to open up and swallow me up. I really did. I thought he could only come to one conclusion and be right. You know, there was no real... Couldn't blame him if he did. But I got to him. He looked through my bag. He looked through it quite thoroughly. I don't know exactly what he saw, but he just looked up at me, he smiled. He said, "Thank you very much, sir, on your way." Just as he had to everyone else. And I thought, that is brilliant. That is the way to respond. Whoever I was, whether I was a fascist or a comedian, I suppose I was trying to get some kind of a rise. If I was a fascist, I kind of wanted to get him angry. It would prove some stupid point to me in my head that he was furious about this. But he was the better man there. He let it go. In fact, he was the better Briton. He was just looking at me saying, "It's all right. You live in Britain. We have freedom of speech. You're allowed to believe whatever you think, no matter how ridiculous and offensive it is. It's all right, mate. On your way." He was the better Briton. And to me, that is an interesting point. And I realised there was a way of reclaiming this moustache. Dan had been wrong, and so had I. Because, at the moment you look at it and you think of Hitler, of course you do. But I think we can beat the fascists at their own game in this. You know, what fascists do is they take symbols and they change their meaning. So Hitler took that swastika and changed its meaning. Nick Griffin took the Spitfire and the poppy, tried to make them mean something for himself. We can take this symbol of fascism and turn it into a symbol of anti-fascism and pro-democracy. Because the brilliant thing about this as a symbol is that nobody in the Western world has this moustache anymore, apart from me and maybe the bloke from Sparks. That's it. There's this. There's two of us. A fascist wouldn't have it for the same reason a paedophile wouldn't have it, for fear of looking like exactly what he is. So we can start again. It's a blank canvas. We can make it mean anything we want. And what I'm proposing is we could have a day for democracy, okay? It's like a red nose day or a puppy day, but on this day, everyone sports a toothbrush moustache. You fellas, you could grow one for the day, wear it, take it out of the bathroom for once, come out of the bathroom, be proud. You ladies, you could wear a false one. You could maybe shave it into your pubic hair. You know, if you see a fascist coming, just give him a little flash. Go, that's what I think of you. No, that would encourage fascism. Only show it to people who are definitely against fascism. Just show them what you've done. I'm very much against fascism. I don't know if I made that clear enough in the rest of the show. But we have a day for democracy where we remind people of the importance of this brilliant thing we have, this right to vote. What people have given up for us to have this right. What happens if you use it foolishly? What can happen if you fail to use your vote? And the fact it has incredible power. 5,000 people out of 20 million in the last election could have changed the meaning and the result of that election. Why not have this day on Charlie Chaplin's birthday, April the 16th? Because this isn't the Hitler moustache. It's certainly not the herring moustache. It's Chaplin's moustache. It was his first, and he was the first to use it to satirise fascism. I mean, he made a difference. He changed history. I don't think he ever got any credit for what he did. He was an amazing man. I mean, he was a bit of a paedophile. But he was talented, and he's dead now. We know that wipes that slate clean. So the brilliant thing is this is one symbol. Nick Griffin can never appropriate this symbol, because if Nick Griffin puts on one of these moustaches, that's the end of him. In fact, don't throw eggs at Nick Griffin. If everywhere Nick Griffin went, there were just 10 men standing behind him on camera with this moustache, just doing that. That's all it would take. Everything he said, we'd laugh at him. He'd never be taken seriously again. That'd be the end of him. Do vote against him as well, but laugh at him and we'll destroy him that way. But it's not easy to change the meaning of symbols, but it's possible, and it's been done. Gay men took the skinhead, they changed the meaning of that. Black men took the word nigger and changed the meaning of that. Now let's funny men, funny women, let's take the Hitler moustache and turn it back to the Chaplin moustache and make it stand for something good. You know, if just one man comes to see this show on this long tour or watches my DVD and decides to grow a toothbrush moustache of his own to be like me, then this whole enterprise will have been an embarrassing failure. But what if 100 men were to do it? What if 1,000 men were to do it? What if 10,000 men and women went out one day with this moustache? In doing so, encouraged 10,000 people who didn't vote at the last European elections to vote at the next ones. 10,000 out of 20 million, that's nothing. We could defeat the British National Party and destroy them overnight. We could defeat fascism, not on the battlefields of Spain, but in the primary schools of the United Kingdom. It's not the fashion now, but it will be later, because I wear it. And if you want to join in with this here, on your way out, there'll be someone holding a pink bucket. You can't miss it. It's decorated over and over again with the Hindu symbol of peace. It looks like a prop from a poorly thought out Al Murray sketch. And in that bucket are hundreds of toothbrush moustaches I've made myself out of little strips of stick-on Velcro. There are black ones in there, there's white ones in there as well. I'd like to say I was making a clever point about racism, or maybe it's like the white poppy versus the red poppy, meaning something different. They just sent me the wrong colour Velcro one week. I had to go with it. But if you get one of the white ones, you can put it on at least and pretend you were Hitler if he'd grown old. That would be... Imagine how grumpy he'd have been. I mean, especially... Doesn't bear thinking. It's a good job he died so young, really. He would have been awful if he got older. If you feel like joining in with this, take one of those moustaches. If you get one at home, make one of your own. You might have got one with the DVD. Then put it on just for the next 2 or 3 hours. Wear it for the rest of the night. See how people... I've done this for months. Walk in my shoes. See how people respond. If anyone challenges you about it, tell them what you're trying to do. That's how you change the meaning of a symbol, one person at a time. Don't get into any fights about it. It's not worth dying over just yet. By the way, I did shave mine off for my parents' golden wedding. I decided that was more important. I did it a week before. It gave me time to get it back in time for Edinburgh as well, so I got both. But at least I didn't have it for my parents. I didn't spoil that day. And if you don't feel like wearing it yourself, why not stick it on one of the posters, one of the other acts coming to the Chapter Arts Centre in the next few months? Or just go out into Cardiff or anywhere in the world, put these stickers, stick them onto anything, onto statues. Someone sent me a picture of one on their 3-year-old daughter the other day. That's the kind of thing. If you find something interesting, send me a photo of it. Put it somewhere, draw it on with a black marker. That can work as well. They can peel off the sticky-on ones. You know, by the end of this tour, every Jimmy Carr poster in the United Kingdom has a Hitler moustache. I feel I've achieved something with this show. So. But, and I hope you've got a programme at the beginning. That's a free gift from me to you. What I'm doing as usual, I'm making a collection for Scope, which is a charity that helps people with cerebral palsy and is trying to get equal rights for people with disabilities. If you think that's a good cause, if you think your programme's worth something, there'll be someone holding a blue bucket and you can just make a donation of anything you want. Don't get confused about the buckets, mate. You can't take anything out of the blue buckets, okay? Just... But please give whatever you want. It all goes to Scope. Please look up their website on the internet at Scope and support their Time to Get Equal campaign if you can. It's really important and it's all about equality. It'd be great to see someone with this moustache doing some good for the disabled community, because Hitler's record on that was... It was slightly disappointing. So I just want to finish by reading you this. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then, in the name of democracy, let's use that power. Let's all unite. Let's fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future, and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power. But they lie. They do not fulfil that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let's fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let's fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to the happiness of us all. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us unite. Those are the words of Charlie Chaplin. This is his moustache. Please take it back for him and for comedy, and please vote at the next elections for anyone except the BNP. Thank you very much for having me, Cardiff. You know I love you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.